I walked through the apartment door on a Friday evening with takeout from Charles's favorite restaurant. The Thai place downtown, the one I'd ordered from because I wanted tonight to feel special. We'd been together for 7 years. I thought I knew what special looked like. But when I pushed open the living room door, I saw something I'd never expected to see. Charles was on our couch kissing another woman. Not quickly, not in panic. Slowly, comfortably, like they'd done this 100 times before. Her lipstick was smeared across his jaw. Our wedding photo hung above them on the wall, watching like a silent witness. He froze when he saw me. His eyes went wide. She smirked, that slow, confident smirk of someone who didn't care about being caught. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the takeout. I didn't cry. Instead, I took a slow breath and whispered, "Don't stop on my account." Then I smiled. That smile wasn't a weakness. That smile was the moment everything changed. I stood there looking at both of them and made a decision that would define the next 6 months of my life. This wouldn't end with tears. This would end with evidence. This would end with justice. My name is Natalie Tate, and that night I started pretending. The next morning I made pancakes. Charles came into the kitchen with that guilty, nervous expression, trying to figure out how to apologize. I could see him rehearsing excuses in his head, searching for words that would make this better. I didn't give him time to start. "I forgive you," I said before he could open his mouth. He looked shocked. "Just like that?" he asked. I flipped a pancake and smiled. "Just like that. We all make mistakes." He thought my forgiveness was grace. He thought I was being mature and forgiving. He thought I was choosing to save our marriage. He was wrong. My forgiveness was a strategy. Every pancake I made, every smile I gave him, every word of comfort I offered, it was all part of a plan I was building in my mind. If he thought forgiveness was easy, he'd soon learn how expensive it could be. I watched him eat, watched the relief wash over his face, watched him believe that he'd gotten away with something. I took mental notes. I memorized his expressions, his body language, and the way he tried to act normal. I was already thinking like a lawyer, like someone collecting evidence. By the time he finished his breakfast, I'd already decided. He would not get away with this. Not fully. Not without consequences. The only question was how to make sure those consequences destroyed him without destroying myself. His sister called that afternoon. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I heard what happened," Violet said, her voice dripping with judgment. "You need to understand that men have needs, Natalie. It's natural. Don't make this worse by overreacting." I listened to her, my phone pressed against my ear, while I took notes in my phone's memo app. Every word she said, I documented. His mother called an hour later. "You work too much," she said. "Charles feels neglected. That's not his fault. Maybe if you spent less time at the office and more time at home, this wouldn't have happened." I smiled into the phone even though she couldn't see me. I memorized every insult disguised as concern. They wanted a quiet wife. They wanted me to accept this and move forward silently. They wanted me to be small and broken and grateful that Charles came home at all. I gave them what they wanted to see. I played the role of the forgiving woman. I was gracious and understanding on the phone. I cried a little, not too much. I said things like, "I just want to make this work," and "I'm sure there's more to this story." Behind the scenes, though, I was noting everything. Every insult became a brick in a wall I was building. Every dismissal became motivation. They had no idea that the quiet woman they were looking at was already planning something they'd never see coming. 3 days after I caught Charles cheating, I did something I'd never done before. While he slept, I took his phone from the nightstand. My heart was racing. I felt like I might throw up. But I needed to know. I needed to understand the scope of what I was dealing with. His passcode was his mother's birthday, something I'd known for years but never used. I opened his phone and started scrolling. Text messages, photos, location data. I used his Apple ID to mirror everything to my laptop. Took 15 minutes. All the while, Charles was sleeping 3 feet away from me, completely unaware that his entire world was being copied and archived. The texts came in like knives. Dates and times and places. Plans made with someone else while he was with me. Money transfers I didn't recognize. Every vibration of his phone became another brick in the case I was building. I documented everything. Screenshots, timestamps, everything. By the time I was done, I had compiled enough evidence to destroy him. I went back to bed and lay there next to him, my heart still racing, knowing that I now held the power. He had no idea. He was sleeping peacefully, thinking his secret was safe. He didn't know that I was already 3 steps ahead. The next day I went through the photos. And then I found her name in the messages. Kara Miles. Realtor. Divorced with 2 kids. I found her Instagram account. I looked at her photos. She was beautiful in that Instagram way, with perfect lighting and filtered perfection. But what made my blood run cold was a specific text message. It said, "Can't wait for our getaway this weekend. Natalie bought the tickets." My money. I bought those tickets. We'd bought those tickets for a couple's retreat we were supposed to go to together. Except Charles had apparently decided to take Kara instead. Or maybe they'd planned to go somewhere else entirely. I made a note of that. Date, time, amount. Everything went into a document I'd started creating. A master timeline. An organized file of every single betrayal I could document. I realized then that this wasn't just about catching him in a moment of weakness. This was a pattern. This was calculated. This was him using my money, my resources, my life to fund his affair. And suddenly my anger transformed into something colder. Something more dangerous. Something focused. I had a goal now and I knew exactly how to reach it. We attended his cousin's engagement party that Saturday. I wore a black dress and smiled like nothing was wrong. His mother hugged me when we arrived and whispered, "Good wives don't leave during hard times, Natalie. You're doing the right thing." I smiled and hugged her back. Inside I was making notes. I was memorizing her face, her tone, the way she was gaslighting me while thinking she was helping. At the party, while everyone was eating and drinking and celebrating, I excused myself to use the bathroom. Instead, I went to the library and accessed his hidden Gmail account using credentials I'd figured out from the texts. I deleted nothing. I didn't need to delete anything. I just downloaded everything. Every message, every photo, every piece of communication between Charles and Kara. I did it all from my phone while wearing a smile and telling myself I wasn't crossing a line. I was crossing it, but I was doing it for a reason. They wanted me to stand beside him, to be the quiet, forgiving wife. I was standing over him, gathering evidence. When I came back to the party, Charles asked if I was okay. I told him I felt beautiful and wanted to take a picture with him. We took a photo and smiled at the camera. He had no idea that I just downloaded months of his affair from the library 15 feet away. 2 weeks later, we had our first real argument since I'd caught him cheating. It was about something stupid about him coming home late. He said he was at work. I knew he was with Kara. I left my phone on record in my purse before the argument started. I let him yell. I let him defend himself. And then, in his frustration, he admitted everything. He admitted the affair. He admitted it had been going on for over a year. He admitted his sister had known the whole time and had helped him cover it up. He admitted he didn't even know how to end it with Kara because he didn't want to. The red dot on my phone kept blinking in my purse while he spoke. That one file was worth more than every tear I refused to shed. When he finished yelling, I said nothing. I just looked at him and nodded. He thought my silence meant acceptance. He had no idea it meant victory. Our accountant called the next day. His name was Donald, and he'd been handling our joint business finances for 3 years. "There's a strange transfer I wanted to ask you about," he said carefully. $8,000 went from your joint business fund to a boutique startup. Did you authorize that? I acted surprised. I asked him to send me the details. Inside my heart was racing. Charles had stolen $8,000 from our business to finance Kara's project. Our business. Money I'd helped earn. Money I'd sweated for. I told Donald to let it slide publicly but to keep detailed records of every transfer. I also asked him to send me full financial statements going back 5 years. I needed to know the full extent of what Charles had done. He'd been planning this affair, probably before I even caught him on the couch. The affair hadn't been a mistake. It had been a calculated betrayal with financial backing. My best friend Vanessa called me in tears. "I can't keep doing this," she said. "I can't keep lying to you." I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean?" I asked even though I already knew. "I've known about Kara for months. I didn't want to get involved. I thought maybe he'd end it. I didn't want to hurt you." I listened to her explain her reasoning, her justifications for keeping my husband's affair a secret. I nodded and said I understood. I told her it was fine. We said goodbye and I hung up. Then I deleted her from my phone, from my social media, from my life. She'd had a choice and she'd chosen Charles over me. Silence, I realized, could be a woman's best revenge. I didn't need to confront her or fight with her. I just needed to remove her completely. Let her wonder why I disappeared from her life. Let her realize that betrayal has consequences, even when it's betrayal by a best friend. Charles booked a weekend getaway to try to rekindle things. He was trying to fix the marriage, he said. He wanted to remind me why we fell in love. I agreed to go. I also packed a small camera I'd ordered online. It was tiny, the size of a pen, and it recorded everything. We went to a resort 2 hours away. The whole weekend his phone pinged. Text messages from Kara. He kept looking at it, and kept getting frustrated when the messages came in. He wanted romance. I wanted evidence. I let him believe I was buying into his romantic gestures. I let him think I was falling back in love with him. But I was recording every moment he looked at his phone, every moment of frustration in his eyes, every moment where he forgot to be the man he was pretending to be. When we got home, I had hours of video footage of his behavior. Nothing explicit, nothing that would show up to someone glancing at it. But everything that mattered. Everything that proved this wasn't about one mistake. This was about a man living a double life. I planted a motion camera in the living room of our apartment. Just a small camera, about the size of a book, tucked behind a decorative item on the shelf. 2 days later, while I was supposedly at work, Kara showed up. I watched from my phone as they laughed about my blind forgiveness. I watched them kiss on the couch right where I'd caught them before. I watched them talk about how stupid I was for believing he'd ended the affair. Every moment was recorded. Every laugh, every touch, every casual cruelty was documented. Forgiveness looked good on me. So did proof. I sat at my desk at work, pretending to do my job while watching my husband and his mistress on my phone. My coworkers had no idea what I was doing. They just saw me at my desk, apparently focused on work. Inside, I was experiencing a strange kind of calm. I was building something. I was constructing the framework of my case. And with every piece of evidence I gathered, I felt myself getting stronger. I made an appointment with a lawyer. Her name was Patricia, and she'd been referred to me by Donald, my accountant. She was quiet, sharp, and exactly what I needed. "You're not ready to file yet?" she asked when I showed her the evidence. "No," I said. "I'm still collecting." She nodded, understanding. "Some women want closure," she said. "I can see you're drafting yours." We spent an hour going through my documentation. Bank statements, phone records, texts, recordings, videos. Patricia took notes. She explained my options. She explained what I could potentially recover, what I could prove, and what I could use against him in court. By the time I left her office, I had a plan. I didn't know exactly when I'd execute it, but I knew it would be devastating. I knew it would be legal. I knew it would work. 3 months after I caught Charles cheating, he planned a family dinner. He said he wanted both families there to show everyone that we were healing. He was going to present this narrative to the world, this story where we'd survived infidelity and come out stronger. His mother praised him at the dinner. "You're working through temptation," she said proudly. "This shows real character." I clinked my wine glass and smiled. In that moment, I realized something crucial. The whole family was complicit. Not just Charles. They all knew, or they'd helped him hide it, or they were actively choosing to ignore it. His sister had known from the beginning. His mother had blamed me for not being a good enough wife. They weren't victims of his lies. They were co-conspirators. They were protecting him. And they had no idea that I was documenting every lie, every cover-up, every moment of gaslighting. His sister Violet made a mistake that changed everything. She meant to text Charles but texted me instead. "Make sure she doesn't see Kara's tag on the vacation post. She's been dumb enough to not check her Instagram in days." I took a screenshot immediately. I didn't reply for an hour. When I did, I wrote, "Too late." The silence after that was almost better than any confrontation could have been. Violet knew I'd caught her. She knew I'd seen her helping Charles cover up his affair. She knew she'd made a mistake. That screenshot went into my file. That mistake went into my case. I didn't need her to admit anything. The mistake spoke for itself. Over the next few weeks, my phone started buzzing with messages from people I barely knew. Friends of friends. Acquaintances from the neighborhood. Screenshots of Charles and Kara together. Sightings from the coffee shop down the street. Everyone had information. Everyone had noticed. They just thought I didn't know. They'd underestimated how dangerous quiet women can be. They didn't realize I was already connected to half the neighborhood through a whisper network that was feeding me information. They didn't understand that I was building a case with the help of people who'd watched Charles strut around like he was invincible. Compiled it all. Every sighting, every photo, every piece of evidence. My case was becoming airtight. Charles suggested couples therapy. He said it would show effort. He said it would help us heal. I agreed immediately. We started seeing a therapist named Dr. Ellis on Thursday evenings. Charles was nervous, I could tell. He kept his story simple. He admitted the affair but framed it as a moment of weakness. He talked about neglect and feeling disconnected. He played the victim while also taking responsibility. It was a masterclass in manipulation. I let Dr. Ellis write down every word he said. When she offered to send us both copies of her notes, I agreed. Even his healing became part of my evidence. I was using his own attempts at recovery against him. The therapist had no idea. She thought she was helping us heal. In reality, I was using her notes as documentation of his lies. One morning, Charles brought me flowers. They were beautiful, expensive roses. He said they were a symbol of his commitment to our marriage. I smiled and thanked him. Then I pulled up Instagram and clicked on Kara's profile. She'd posted the same flowers an hour before. The same arrangement, the same color, the same everything. I looked at Charles and said, "Lovely. She has good taste." His face was drained of color. For the first time since I'd caught him, he realized I knew more than he thought. He realized I'd been watching. He realized I wasn't as broken as he believed. "What are you talking about?" he asked, but his voice was shaking. I didn't answer. I just smiled and put the flowers in water. Patricia called me with news. "The legal documents are finalized," she said. "We've structured everything to protect your assets." I'd been working with Patricia for months now, quietly building the legal framework that would protect me. We'd transferred property, opened accounts, restructured our business finances. Every signature, every document, everything that had once been shared with Charles was now becoming mine. He had no idea. He thought we were still a normal married couple working through problems. He didn't know that I'd already legally separated myself from him. Forgiveness had become a legal strategy. Every smile, every kind word, every moment of support I'd given him had bought me time to dismantle our shared life and rebuild it as my own. Kara called me. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "He said you were over it," she said with a mocking laugh. "You must be desperate if you're staying with him while he's with me." I let her talk. I let her brag. I let her believe that her secret was safe. Then I said, "Thank you for confirming you knew he was married. That's going to be very useful in court. Goodbye." I hung up. Her voice, recorded on my phone line, her admission that she knew Charles was married, that would be perfect. Her voice would sound great in court, when a judge was deciding whether she owed me money for alienation of affection. 6 months after I caught Charles cheating, he finally confronted me about my behavior. "Why are you so cold lately?" he asked. "You're distant. It's like you don't even care anymore." I looked at him, really looked at him, and said, "Because warm women burn." He didn't understand what I meant. He thought I was being poetic. I meant it literally. Every woman who'd been warm, who'd been forgiving, who'd let men like Charles take advantage of her warmth, she burned. I wasn't going to burn. I was going to walk away unscathed, and that's when I decided it was time. It was time to stop pretending. It was time to show him exactly what I'd been doing. Charles planned a dramatic family dinner. He was going to do a second proposal, he told me. He was going to renew our vows in front of both families. He wanted to show everyone that we'd survived infidelity and come out stronger. He wanted to present this perfect narrative to the world. Everyone dressed up. His mother wore her best jewelry. His sister wore a designer dress. I showed up too. But I didn't come empty-handed. I brought a folder. He thought it was love's comeback. He had no idea it was Judgment Day. I stood up before he could start his speech. Everyone looked at me confused. "Before we toast to forgiveness and renewal," I said, my voice steady and calm, "I'd like to share something with everyone." I opened the folder. I laid out every photograph, every bank statement, every text message, every recording. I laid out the therapist's notes where he'd admitted to the affair. I laid out the videos. I laid out proof that Kara had admitted knowing he was married. Gasps filled the room. His mother looked like she might faint. His sister's face went white. Charles stood up, but before he could say anything, Patricia walked through the door. She'd been waiting in the hallway. She handed him the legal papers. Every asset traced back to fraud. Every transfer is documented. Every lie tied neatly to his name. The room erupted. His family turned on each other. His mother started crying. His sister started denying everything. His father looked at him like he didn't recognize his own son. The consequences came quickly. Within days, Charles's employer found out about the financial fraud. He was fired before the week was over. Kara deleted all her social media accounts. She disappeared entirely. His family turned on each other, fighting about who had known what and when. I didn't speak publicly. I didn't need to. The truth had legs. It was spreading through the neighborhood, through their social circles, through the community. People who'd thought Charles was a good guy suddenly understood what he really was. I simply let the truth do the work for me. I didn't have to shout. The truth screamed for me. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. I got the house, most of the retirement accounts, and a significant settlement. Charles was left with debt and a destroyed reputation. He had to move back in with his parents. His sister wouldn't speak to him. His mother finally admitted that she'd known about Kara the whole time and had helped him cover it up. The family imploded. But that wasn't my victory. My victory wasn't his suffering. My victory was my freedom. I'd spent 6 months pretending to be broken, pretending to forgive, pretending to be small. And now I was free. I had my life back. I had my power back. I had myself back. 6 months after that first night, I stood alone in my new apartment. The apartment was empty except for the furniture I'd carefully chosen. There were no photographs of Charles. There were no reminders of my old life. I poured a glass of wine and stood at the window, looking out at the city. The case was closed. The house was in my name. My peace was restored. And I said out loud what I'd been holding in for the entire 6 months. Forgiveness isn't weakness. Sometimes, it's the silence before the verdict. I took a sip of wine and smiled. Not a smile of cruelty. Not a smile of revenge. A smile of someone who'd survived. A smile of someone who'd won. Not because I destroyed him, but because I saved myself.